Balikbayan is a Tagalog word used to describe a person who has left their homeland and has returned. Join occupational therapist and key creative CEO Jon Jon Rivero as he shares his remarkable experiences creating the Balikbayan Project, returning to the city of Tacloban, Philippines to help street children heal from trauma. Stay tuned. It's time for Key Talks.
Today, Balikbayan.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Yeah, today we get to talk about the Balikbayan Project, which for me is definitely near and dear to my heart. I've been going back to the Philippines since 2009. It's a key citizenship project with Key Creative, which basically the work that we do here in Edmonton, we've been able to share in the Philippines. But we've brought our founder of the Balikbayan Project, who's none other than our CEO and founder here at Key Creative, to share a little bit more about the project and some upcoming adventures and travels that we have planned. So
we have a repeat interview is what you're
we
saying.
have a repeat guest.
Yes.
Our repeat guest, which aren't we excited? Don't we love our Jon Jon? I mean, he's my husband, so I get to say that on many levels. And I'm going to have my listening ears on, no cutting off today. We just get to hear Jon from the heart about a really, really, really special project. So let's bring him out from the green room.
Jon Jon.
Jon Jon.
Mabuhay!
Mabuhay. That's a new one.
Say it, repeat after me. Mabuhay.
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 Mabuhay
What
is
are we saying?
a Filipino word for I live, exist. Buhay in Tagalog means life. And mabuhay would be like a greeting to say, exist, live.
I like it.
Let's live, yeah.
Let's
so it's a
live.
common phrase used obviously in the Philippines, but all over the world when we welcome guests or we're welcoming. You're being welcomed, and you want to send well wishes for just positive vibes. So yeah,
Awesome.
and actually, it's fitting because October is Filipino American History Month. I know we're in Canada, and I looked up and I'm like, when is Filipino Canadian History Month? And it's actually in June.
Oh.
So it's actually fitting to go have this episode being filmed or recorded right now in October. But I think it's just great for me to know that Philippine Canadian History Month is coming up next year in June.
All right. So who wants to start? I think I'm just going to start by introducing yourself. What is Balikbayan, the Balikbayan Project? How did it all begin? Because I've heard about it when I was first hired to Key Creative, and that was like 8 years ago. And I'm sure it's become, I guess, a much bigger project than it was back then. So, like, Jon, take it away.
For sure. And, I can't believe that the project is already in its 2007, 16th year, 2007.
16, yeah.
Yeah, 16th year.
16th year.
And, we had a break during the pandemic. So from 2019 until, I guess, basically this year. So there was a 4-year hiatus during that time. However, the spirit of the Balikbayan Project has remained. And so, I think about it and I'm just like, wow, where has the time gone? And to go back to its original roots, I can't help but honor my parents. So the project was instilled in me, whether they consciously did it or unconsciously did it, from my parents. My parents are from the Philippines. Both my parents were born and raised and met separately, or they came to Canada separately, but they fell in love in Edmonton. So because of their love for their culture, for our culture, the Philippine culture, through music, dance, performance, language, food, gatherings and sharing of art, I believe that the Balikbayan Project has always been part of me. And to summarize it, I made a promise to my dad before he died to go to the Philippines, and he had always wanted to take us. And for viewers at home who and listeners who don't know my story, I grew up with a father with a brain tumor at the age of 2, and he always wanted to take us to the Philippines, and my mom too. But due to his medical illness with pressure in his brain, couldn't fly, as well as some financial constraints, we were unable to go as a family. Prior to my dad getting sick, my brother was able to go to the Philippines. I believe he was 4 years old or 3 or something along those lines. And my brother has vague memories of him playing with lots of aunts and uncles and my Lola and Lolo, I think, on my dad's side. My mom's parents both died before she moved to Canada. So my brother had a chance, but at a very, very young age, to experience the Philippines. And he remembered, as he remembers, he tells me it was very hot, and he didn't like the travel so far. It was a little bit of too long of a travel, but he does have fond memories of getting to know some of those sides of the relatives who haven't necessarily immigrated to the U.S. or Canada at that time yet. So my parents always wanted to give me that experience, but due to the reasons earlier, I didn't get a chance to do that. So fast forward 19 years later, I had the chance. My parents instilled in me the love for Philippine dancing and music and singing, and performing at Regina's multicultural festival, Mosaic, which is similar to here in Edmonton, the Heritage Days. And we would perform at the Philippine Pavilion every June. And I would learn the tinikling, which is our national dance, where we have long bamboo sticks, and they would have 2 clappers on each side, and they would be clapping to this beat. And as a youngster, you would learn to mimic the cranes that would jump through the rice paddies back in the Philippines folklore. And you would look like these birds jumping in and out of the rice paddies, which then, would turn into this folk dance that I felt part of my ancestry, I guess, being expressed. But there was only so much Philippine-Canadian culture I could experience. And so being able to have that last conversation with my dad before he died, one of those promises was, I want to go to the Philippines. And I promise you I will go to the Philippines. And I feel like he was happy about that. Because my dad would, he had troubles expressing himself and telling stories. And sometimes he would tell stories that were so far-fetched, like a lot of, folklore of like ghosts and monsters and such. And he would say, there would be, back in the village or in my hometown, there would be this, ghost that would fly. And I'd be like, Dad, this is so...
John had to go and see for himself if those ghosts and goblins were actually there.
Well, it's actually embedded in Philippine culture, like
yes.
superstition, and you have to turn your plates a certain number of times before a guest leaves, otherwise they might get in an accident. Don't fall asleep with your hair wet because you'll go blind. Those types of things.
No wonder I get such a hard time if my hair's not completely dry.
I remember when I was younger, one of my friends who was Filipino was like, "You can't breathe when you go by a cemetery." because the spirits will get you.
Yes.
I mean, I had that one when I was young too. There are some that are maybe commonly Canadian too. I don't know, but
sorry, this is a little graphic, but if you're in the outdoors and you have to go to the washroom and you're peeing on a tree or something like that, there's a saying you have to say excuse me to the dwarfs that live in the tree because they will cast a spell on you. Anyways, these are if you Google the Aswang Project on Instagram, you're gonna find all kinds of different folklore that actually people truly believe in, and so that's part of the culture. So, anyways, growing up with my dad, because partly I'm like, is this part of your brain tumor illness? You telling me these things, or is this like because my brother and I be like, yeah, sure, Dad, right? Yeah. And Dad would be like, no, and then I talk to my uncles here in Edmonton, and you're like, no, that's true. But with a smirk, they'd say it with a smirk, so they want to keep that part of the culture. Anyways, on a more serious note, going back to my last moments with my dad, I didn't know what that promise meant. All I knew was that I'm going to go to the Philippines. I know that I'm so privileged, and I didn't even know the word privilege. And I mean, I'm still learning about what that means in my life. But when I was explaining that to my dad, it's hard for me to talk about. I did my best to try and capture, all of the sacrifices that both my parents have given us by not only immigrating here, but giving us the best life possible. And I made that promise, and among other promises, but today's focus is on the Balikbayan Project. And I didn't know what that promise would turn into until I had the opportunity to travel with the Filipino-Canadian Saranay Association. And I thought I hit the jackpot. They were giving me a free trip to the Philippines. I got a chance to perform and sing and dance, basically live the life of a pseudo rock star who gets to, tour the Philippines and perform and express themselves using, hip hop, music, cover songs, all of that. And I was also double, hit two birds with one stone, thinking, well, I can fulfill my dad's promise, the promise I made to my dad. And when I landed in the Philippines, so this is in 2006, 4 years after my father passed away, I'm already an OT. I've already had 2 years of experience working as an OT. I established myself in Edmonton as, a performer, a director for nonprofit fundraisers, fashion shows, all of that. So I'm feeling, okay, well, I'm just going to check another box off my bucket list, and it's my promise to my dad. But when I arrived in the Philippines, my mindset changed on life. I think some missing elements of identity started to unfold for me. And a lot of it had to do with guilt-driven, trying to appease and uphold a promise, as well as, trying to give something back in a way. But that trip wasn't really about that. And I was soon, humbled by the spirit of the Filipino people. And I landed, and every person was Filipino. So that was different for me, because growing up in Regina, Saskatchewan at the time in the 80s, 90s, we had a strong Filipino community. But I realized that, I'm a minority, and not everyone looks like me. Not everyone understands, let alone not everyone has a father with a brain tumor. Not everyone knows that, lunch can look like rice with chicken adobo and fish sauce on the side. That smells different than a bologna sandwich, that's for sure. And so many times I got made fun of for, so many times I didn't even eat my lunch. And so all of that was coming out in this trip, and thinking like, you can have at a restaurant, you can eat with a spoon and a fork as opposed to just a fork and a knife. That's how I grew up. And I felt, well, this is how it is. This is how it was in my house. But it's not how it was in school. It wasn't how it was at my friend's house. And so all of these things started to come to me through the performance. So like I'm performing and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to focus on the performances. I'm going to enjoy my San Miguel light beer that costs less than $1 to drink. I'm going to really explore and travel and have this amazing time. And I was having the best time, and I would just think, okay, Dad, this is an amazing promise. Like I get to benefit from this promise. This is something that is so amazing as a foreigner to experience tourism in the Philippines. And I saw the poverty, and that's where I started to have these identity mixed emotions of trying to figure out who I am again, because we would be, performing for privileged Filipino children and students, and then would walk to our tour bus, and there'd be, dozens of children on the street who were just trying to get our attention. And we wouldn't, we were told to not interact with them, just keep going, get on the bus so we can get to the next venue. And to me, I was struggling with that. I was struggling with, wow, like, look at all these children. Like, where are these parents? Where's your school? Are you not in school? Like, and I was soon humbled to understand that, I'm in a third world country, and no matter how many stories my parents could tell me how lucky I was growing up, I would never understand that. And I'll still never understand that. But I got a glimpse of that just by walking from a school to our tour bus. And those interactions with those kids, that's what transformed me. I remember one kid particularly, he didn't have a leg. He just had one leg, and he was hopping. He didn't even have crutches. He was wearing a sando, which is like a tank top and some basketball shorts. And he didn't even have chinelas, which is slippers. He didn't even have slipper on his one foot. His foot was rock hard, like I could see it. And he was carrying like what looked like a newborn, but apparently was like a 4-year-old child. And he'd say, Kuya, look at me. And I'd look at this child and I'd say, oh my gosh, who is this? He's like, this is my brother. And he'd say, Kuya, beatbox. And he didn't want anything to talk about him or his family. He just wanted me to beatbox because he heard me beatbox on stage. And I said, okay, I'll beatbox, sure. And he says, okay, Kuya, my turn. And he goes, boom, boom, and we started doing this exchange of beatboxing on the street. And I'm like, I don't want to continue this battle. You already beat me after that first, exchange. And he's like, no, Kuya, teach me more. I said, you should be teaching me your beatbox. He's like, no, Kuya, up there, you taught me. I'm like, I taught you? He's like, yeah, I did not know beatboxing before I heard. And I'm like, what? You must be kidding me. And he's like, no. And then another kid's like, Kuya, look, head spin. And I'm like, head spin? You're going to, what? I'm not head spinning here. This is like rubble and like, I'm going to break my head. And I don't even know how to do a head spin. He's like, no, look at me. And he does, I kid you not, a head spin on the concrete, like 5 rotations. And then I'm like, what the heck? He's like, Kuya, your turn. I'm like, no, I can't even, number one, you're the master. I don't even know how to do a head spin. And all my bandmates started to like say, Kuya, let's go, John, let's go on the tour bus. And some people decided to just interact and collaborate with these children. And then it hit me. I was so schooled. But also probably, as a therapist, I know what it is, really. I experienced catharsis in my grieving process, and I couldn't stop crying. But I cried in private. I didn't let anybody know I was just a mess. And what I was going through there was just trying to find meaning. And I found meaning in what I was doing on the street. Yeah, I had so much fun on stage. We were getting people asking for autographs. You know, people would take photos of us, and they would print them before the end of the concert. Already they had these pictures, and they'd ask us to sign them. And I'm like, wow, this is like inflating, if you talk about inflating ego and like this hyper sense of, you know, imitation of celebrityness. I got to experience a little bit of that, but I realized that that's what brought me to the Philippines, maybe, but why I think I should be in the Philippines is those exchanges of cultural and artistic forms of expression, regardless of, you know, if I am a Filipino Canadian or they're born in the Philippines, Filipinos, we were able to have a human exchange, regardless of socioeconomic class. And that's when I broke down, because I just remember my parents saying, do you realize how lucky you are? You can't throw that last bit of rice in the garbage because you don't know how many kids are so hungry. And I realized, of course, they're hungry. The kids that I was working with, of course, they're hungry for physical food and nutrition, but they were also, and if not even more, hungry for love. And the Balikbayan Project was born. I realized I was so lucky that my parents loved me. And they loved me in their own way. And a lot of these children didn't have somebody older than them to care for them or to love them. And for me, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wanted these children to know that they're worthy of love. Because if my parents decided to raise us in the Philippines, and they came from privileged families, there could have been a chance that I would have ended up on the street trying to make ends meet to pay for my dad's medication. And so this whole project stems from, I'll be honest, a grieving, a realization of potential identity crisis, but continues to exist because of a human need, which is connection and belief. So it is still very, as you can tell, for those of you listening and those of you watching, something near and dear to my heart. And what started off as, you know, working with street children and children on the street randomly evolved into a promise of continually coming back to the Philippines, not to change the world, not to change a child, but more so as an exchange, a cultural exchange. The term Balikbayan means a person from a country who returns. And so I named the project Balikbayan because that's, in and of itself, the act of returning. And what it means is truly to return to something that has meaning to you, that has given you something. And I be the first to say, and I will never understand it, I'm here because people have made sacrifices. My parents, my mom comes from a family of five children. My dad, 12. and my dad is the youngest of 12. And the way it worked in their family, they grew up on a dirt floor, and every sibling would go to school, except for the oldest, who had to drop out of school to help raise the other 11. Go to school, graduate, and then immediately start working to pay for the next person's schooling. And so my father became a doctor and was the benefactor of 11 before him. And, to think, and they've all pooled their resources so he can come to Canada and be a doctor. And same with my mom. My mom is the youngest, and I'm the youngest. So it's funny how that works. But my mom is also the benefactor of all her siblings pooling their money to come to Canada, and so they could meet and fall in love. And so the word Balikbayan, I found it very fitting because it just means returning. And what I added in the tagline is returning with service. So I didn't know later on, after that interaction with the street children, going back to 2006, I had a invitation to the mayor's house of San Juan. And at the mayor's house, we had this beautiful banquet, and it was so delightful, and I felt, undeserving of all of this. But they treated us with so much love and gratitude for performing. And they said, does anyone have anything to say? And I was just overtaken with emotion, and I don't remember saying much, but I apparently went off on a tangent. And at the end of it, people were giving me a standing ovation, and I'm crying, and they came up to me and they say, John, wow, thank you so much. So when are you coming back next year? You promise you'll come back every year. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Oh, what did I just promise? And they said, you promised you'd come back and teach hip hop, and you would share that exchange. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not even an expert in breakdancing and popping and locking. I'm me. All I can do is give myself. And they said, that's enough. And you called your project the Balikbayan Project. And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, this is how it's created, right? And so we've been able to go, and every year we would focus on something a little bit different. In 2007, Paula and I were doing a long distance relationship, and Paula was living in Kelowna, and I was still living in Edmonton, and still am right now, obviously, but was working for the Center for Autism Services. And I approached them and I said, I made a promise last year. Remember when I was in the Philippines last year? They're like, yeah. I said, I made a promise to come back, and I'm not asking for vacation. I'm asking for a leave of absence, and I'm hoping that you'll allow me to take this time off. And they said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I just know that I'm going to be teaching hip hop, and I will be spending time using the arts as a form of cultural exchange. And thank goodness they allowed me to do that. And I was able to connect with some volunteers at the U of A, and they connected me with our friend, our Norway's Man of the Year back in 2014, Alin Johannesson, who is the founder of Streetlight Philippines, which has become our sister partner orphanage in Tacloban and Tagpuro, Leyte, Philippines. So to wrap it up, I guess, where we are today, well,
could we just we'll stop you there for a second. And just so it sounds like 2007 is the first year that you went to the Philippines as the Balikbayan Project.
That's right.
Right. And I think at that point, did you partner with the U of A at that point, or what happened that year? Because I feel like that was the start of what really was the Balikbayan Project. And Deanna and I were chatting before you came up about, You have a documentary now, which we'll talk about about Balikbayan Project. And when did you think about starting documenting? I know that you came back in 2007 with a short documentary that was incredible and inspired a lot of people. So that in 2009 you came back with 11 people. So 2007 was a pivotal year in really kicking this all off and really creating a lifelong commitment that you and I have made for ourselves and our family.
Yeah. So in 2007, we had an opportunity to partner with Streetlight Philippines. At the time, they were an orphanage in Tacloban, Leyte, and they housed about 13 kids at that time. And they had a drop-in school program, after-school program, and some social work programs to help reunite the children with their next of kin. And the focus at the time was to create sustainable programs for those children. Now, how we fit in was what we had to offer was a performance element. So at the time, we had already developed, and I say we, myself and Rob Booth, who's one of my best friends, who's currently living in Manila. But at the time, we had a hip-hop group called Rhythm Speaks, where the two of us would do a cappella beatboxing and singing, and we would do outreaches here in Edmonton to youth, kind of like youth group type of workshops. And so that's what our project was, well, we'll do that with the Balikbayan Project and with the street children, similar to those exchanges in 2006. Alin loved the idea because that was something that they were already wanting to explore more with their programs. Get kids more physically active through the dance and the performance, but also tie that in with a reward system for helping them participate more in their schooling and through positive behaviors, etc. And so we created something called the Pagpasabot Festival, which Pagpasabot in Waray, which is the local dialect in Leyte and Samar, it means to express. And we came up with that word because that's what we called our programs in Edmonton. It's self-expression. Rhythm Speaks is all about using music and dance to express yourself. And through the expression, we could find common ground. We can find vulnerability and healing through art. And so that year, I brought Mike Refugia, who's a dear friend who I'd traveled with the year prior with the Saranae Association. And he is a musician. He's a guitarist and he plays bass as well. And he was also my cameraman. So I'd asked him, and he had a camera, a Sony DV camera. And so I asked him, he's like, so are we making a movie? I'm like, well, I don't know. I just need something to show the Center for Autism that I'm not just vacationing. And so he recorded everything. And I there were so many amazing moments that year. And again, more understanding about, well, what am I actually doing? I still didn't really know, like, why am I there? I mean, I know I'm there because I made a promise the year before, but then I started to realize, no. Balikbayan Project isn't about changing a child, isn't about trying to give back, but more so learn about my culture in the Philippines, but also in doing so, share something I love, which is hip-hop, beatbox, and performance. That trip, Paula and Deanna and Mike, I realized that it can be more. It can be more than that. Because word got out that I was an OT. I didn't even think about being an OT. I didn't even think about have my OT hat on, other than thinking this is meaningful occupation for these children. And so the word got out that I was an OT. I had no joke, 50 parents waiting every morning for me to assess their child to say that they have autism. And I said, I can't do that. I'm not qualified to assess your child. But they thought, they wanted me to make sure that their child is going to live because they had autism. And so to me, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm getting into something that's really needed. I need to use my professional hat, but also there's a lot of resources I should be sharing about autism and about, people of all abilities, neurodivergence, all of that, behaviors. A lot of these children were not being taken out of their home.
It sounds like there was a different understanding of what autism was and the potential or ability that people living with autism or have autism, that there is an awesomeness. They are awesome. And that was something that it sounds like wasn't necessarily understood or seen. And that you were realizing there was potential for that to be discussed.
Absolutely. And they, Paula, they came to me and they'll say, I don't have any money. I can take you for lunch if you want. And the first couple, I'm like, yeah, I love free lunch, sure. And I'd be like doing OT pencil grasp assessing. I'd be trying to give them some self-regulation tips, et cetera, that I was practicing back in Edmonton. And they're like, Kuya John, is it okay if we only do the value meal instead of the extra value meal? Kasi we don't have pera, which means like they don't have money. And I said, and then I start to realize, oh my goodness, no. You don't have to pay me anything. You don't even owe me lunch. Like, no. We're gonna rent out a room for you so that you can go swimming after at the Leyte Park. And I'm like, no. Save your money. You don't. No. I'm here because. What are you doing here? Like, you're just giving it away. You know how much it costs? I'm like, how much does it cost? They're like, $15 an hour from this OT. And I'm like, $15 per hour? At the time, the going rate was $90 per hour in Edmonton. And I'm thinking, wow, they can't even afford the $15 per hour, because that $15 is more than a day's wage for a teacher at the time. So then I start thinking, okay, why am I here? I have these skills. I don't have to necessarily just do hip hop. Why am I not thinking about my work? But then I thought, well, I'm trying to get away from my work in Edmonton to do hip hop. And then I thought, well, why can't I combine them? And that's what I did. And Mike, God bless Mike Refugia, because he had no idea what we were doing. And he was able to capture it all. But also, number one, more importantly, he connected with the kids. And then I was, again, humbled. That's what the Balikbayan Project is about. Yeah, I can throw in the OT, the clinical stuff, the hip-hop. At the end of the day, we're all people needing to connect.
Something you did that year, I think, really set the foundation and had a great impact on some of the children in changing the trajectory of their life. And I'm hoping you can talk a little bit about the parade.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about Pagpasabot, where you put on this festival for the community where these street children had an opportunity to perform and share their talents and strengths that make them awesome. And then not only that, is you created an opportunity for them to get on the streets, and you put on a parade. Yeah,
and thank you for that reminder, Paula. I'm trying not to get too, just trying to stay focused so I don't get too emotional here, so I can be succinct with my words. I find it hard. Usually I find it hard to be eloquent during these types of interviews, because so much has happened and I get reflooded with nostalgia. I'm going to take a breath. I feel so grateful that Paula has accepted the Balikbayan Project as yours, Paula, for our children, because that's so important.
Well, and it was before children. I remember John coming back in 2007. So we were dating, and he shows us the mini documentary that they created there. And I was blown away by the love and connection that I saw was created, and specifically that parade and the story you tell about it, which you'll tell in a second. And then he comes back and I watch it. I'm like, this is incredible. And John's like, yeah. And my life's purpose is to go back every 2 years. And I'm like, John, we're not going back every 2 years. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't just plan that we're going to be going back every 2 years. Like, at that point, my mind could not even like fathom that that could be possible, or that I would even have, to be honest, like a desire or a want to do that. But that changed after 2009 for sure. But tell us about the parade.
Okay, so we had a chance to kick off our festival with a street parade, and I remember the meeting. And I wonder if we can get some B-roll from the movie to put in.
No,
it's good to show, right?
You'll watch the documentary.
Watch the documentary.
Yeah.
But we had a meeting with Allen and some of the streetlight staff and some of the officials who were going to help shut down the streets in downtown Tacloban. And the idea was to kick off the festival, we have a parade of children, all children, regardless of where they come from, streetlight, who are part of streetlight, but also children who are just, there's a parade, come join, kind of thing.
You could be part of it.
Yeah, and it was called the Passport Parade, and they said, John, what do you think? How can we get everyone's attention? And I'm like, Alan, what if we throw down? Like, because my roots at the time were all about street dancing. So
Break dancing,
what if we carried the linoleum with us? Let's get some linoleum, and then we throw it down on the street, and we have the police, and we're thinking, wow, are we going to get the police involved? Are we going to get, this?
Are they going to be arresting us?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
And then Alan said, it would be amazing if we did it in the most popular place where children are trafficked. Children at the time were seen as rats, like street children. They were called rats, basically. You're a rat because you're up to no good. You're either sniffing rugby, which rugby is like glue, synthetic glue that helps kill the hunger, or you're prostituting yourself, or you're, just stealing from people.
The perception is that you were up to no good.
Up to no good.
Yeah.
And he said, what would be amazing if they see police officers stopping traffic, our parade, in the middle of the street, and we lay out the linoleum, and we're performing. Like, what if we did a throwdown? Like, we did a show. They call them showdown, but it's basically a cypher breakdancing. You go and perform. And I'm like, yes, this will be awesome. And we're like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but they got the police involved. The police were like they were our escorts at the front of the parade and at the back of the parade. And then we had this van that was playing, like, I had like an iPod playlist of, like, at the time, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Kanye West, all these like hip hop, I guess singers that would, or rappers that would get me excited to go dance, right? And the kids, unbelievable. Like, to me, that experience doing that definitely got attention. Like, I remember seeing all these. Number one, a parade is often associated with Mother Mary. So, like, praying, like you're doing like a veneration of the rosary, or it's a saint's feast day. The whole town shuts down, or a funeral. So there's a procession of someone who died, or someone graduated, like a class of, 2006 at Leyte Normal University. Class of 2006 education faculty. They'll have a parade and people are dressed up. And there's also a Pintado festival where they have they're honoring the Filipino tribes who used to tattoo themselves and they go to war. And prior to war, it would parade and they'd show their expression, their warriorness. Anyways, so for us to have a hip hop parade, almost like
featuring street children.
Yeah, and streetlight
children living on the street.
Was, to me, I think, I cannot replicate. I don't think you can replicate, for me,
the power.
Yeah, and you just had to be there. in a way.
And let's just we have to make this point clear, I feel, because I think the turning point for me of like why this was so powerful is that it was the irony of it is that you were the street children who were viewed as rats and less than and nuisances in that area were, in this case, being celebrated and featured as the stars
of the show.
Yeah. And people, if you see this it's not in the new documentary, but in this little documentary you made, it was so powerful though. In this first documentary you made, you see a crowd of people around these kids cheering them on. Like, it is quite the moment.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, again, I remember watching that. And when we finished watching, I'm like, I need to come.
Yeah.
I'm there. Like, I need to be with you and go on this trip. It was incredible what you did there and in that moment, and literally life-changing for a lot of people, not just children, but a lot of people, a lot of perspectives, a lot of views, a lot of misconceptions, a lot of judgments.
Yeah. Later on, and to your point, Paula, like a lot of those children have never performed, let alone like felt like they were worthy of that type of praise or attention.
Yeah.
And some of those children later on, because we were working on a performance for the evening, which would have been a talent showcase. And we were handing out, during the parade, we were handing out flyers to the general public who were watching to come back and celebrate with the children later. And some of those people happened to be, officials of the city and the province, which was so amazing to have. And they didn't announce it. They just came and like, what is this? And I'm so grateful because of those situations, the Balikbayan Project with Streetlight, and the locals started to collaborate and become more in the know of each other. And so going back to the impact, Paula, and kind of how this inspired you, a lot of those children we've been able to see graduate from Streetlight over the years, because you came in 2009 and you started to share your love, because I remember you saying, well, what do I have to offer? And I said, you have lots to offer. Number one, it's whatever you want to share. The time. Number one, it's your time. Number two, it's anything that you love about life. And you were able to share your love and your talents through music and dance, but also color guard, which was a very popular
I brought
activity.
About maybe 15 to 20 like official color guard poles. And if you don't know what color guard is, they're generally a part of a marching band.
Oh, those like dancing flag things?
Dancing flag things. And I was like, I did color guard in a marching band. That seems like fun. I'll bring those. And so I did. I ordered them. And I either got them shipped. I think I got them shipped there directly. Yeah. Anyway, I think I brought 15 to 20, and I had about 25, 30 kids that wanted to do this color guard. So I'm like, OMG, what am I going to do? And so we went to like the grocery store, the whatever, what's it called? Gaisano Mall, shout out. And I got shower curtain rods. Yeah. And I made more poles, and we had a pretty awesome color guard group. And the thing that stands out most to me about that is, again, the parade. We had a group of color guard performers leading the parade. It was so cool.
It became one of the most popular things. And so for you, what was that like for you, thinking, oh, I don't have anything to offer? And then you going there, obviously you have tons to offer, and that being, what was that like for you?
Well, I mean, to put it into words is hard. It was incredible. It was incredible. I think the thing that I feel the most is just how connected and loved I felt, and appreciated that I felt for something that seemed so simple and maybe not important became so valuable and so celebrated. It made me realize that was a turning point in, I guess, my own looking at myself and confidence that it's not about it's again, not necessarily about what I bring, but about just being me and sharing that love and support. And yeah.
Because I truly believe, like, they fell in love with Ate Paula. They call her Ate Paula. Ate means older sister or older sibling, and then Kuya is for older brother, older sibling. So everyone fell in love with Ate Paula, and Ate Paula not only can teach color guard, but can also teach basketball and play basketball and tell jokes and be herself. And that is attractive to the children. And it was truly an instant bond, I think, with a lot of those children. And then they were so smitten to think that we were a couple. Because it was like, you're Filipino, you're one of us, but you don't talk like us, you don't act like us, you can't even speak what I like us, but you're like my brother, and you married someone who is white? Like, that is wild. That's wild. Their experience of that was white men, and unfortunately, trafficking young girls, right? So to see the opposite, in the sense they actually chose each other. They're not involved in some kind of transaction. They're in love. And this is when I knew, okay, this is how part of my strategy to keep Paula coming back was to have her experience an emotional moment. And I timed my engagement proposal to Paula with the 2009 Pagpasabot festival. And so I performed a song at the end, near the end, before our finale. And I asked Paula to go up on stage and up into this balcony area, which was kind of like a prop in front of this. It was beautiful. We're in front of the sea, and we're in this amphitheater outside, and Paula was standing up top. And I'm like, this is gonna be like Romeo and Juliet, kind of like I'm singing.
I'm singing
to
very
Juliet,
strange how
to
it
Paula,
happened.
and I sang. I'm like, I will.
I am
be
just
here.
so glad that propped stage did not fall over that balcony.
That would have been a
that
tragedy.
It did not fall over the edge.
And the
Very
kids
lucky.
were, and the people. This is 2009. We had a Pakpasa parade, and we handed out flyers. So we had people from the public who to this day still come to see me randomly in Tacloban. I was there when you proposed to Paula. How are you? It's crazy. Anyways, so I got her upstage. My Kuya Ray and Kuya Ryan. So shout out to Ray Javier and Ryan Recuenco and Bernie Hernando, my godbrother, and all those people who helped coordinate Paula to be upstage while I'm singing. She had no idea what was happening. And everyone in the crowd Filipinos are hopeless romantics. They really love the, gushy, surprising stuff. And thank God Paula said yes, because that would have been the worst pagpasabot ever.
I'm pretty sure like the day before we had a huge argument.
Yes.
So you are lucky.
Going back to Filipino roots, my Lola gave my mom a ring. And my mom hung on to this ring for a purpose. And she gave me the ring, and which was basically a blessing to whenever I felt comfortable to ask Paula if it was the one to share it. And I hung on to this ring for a few months. Few months before the trip, your parents were visiting. I asked their blessing. Paula went to the washroom like, Papa, Grandpa. They're like, yeah? Can I have your blessing to marry your daughter? They're like, what? And then Paula's coming out. They're like, yeah, okay. And Paula's here. I'm like, we're back to watching like something like Apocalypto or something like that. Anyways, so thank goodness that you said yes, because that to me,
You couldn't live without me.
well, I think to me that also showed our streetlight family that we're not like, that's a personal thing to do in front of a parade and a project. I think after some of the kids were able to express to me that we are their family. It's not just, oh, these are the volunteers who come, the Balikbayan Canadians who come. We're here because we're family. So 2009 came, 2011. I invited my Kuya Bernie, who is a filmmaker who saw the film in 2007. And
he came in 2009.
And he's a film producer. He produced Wolf Cop. For those of you who have heard of it, it's a very awesome film from Regina, produced and filmed in Regina. And my godbrother Bernie is one of the producers of that. And so he saw the film and he wanted to come. And I said, well, you're a filmmaker. Let's follow what the Balikbayan Project's about. Use what you've got. And you've got more than you know, right? Use your passion. Can you help me produce a proper film? The challenge with the 2007 film that I made is I didn't know that you had to license music. So in that original music, I kept all the original music. Michael Jackson, Kanye West, Run DMC, Black Eyed Peas, I didn't have the budget for that. And he said, well, you already made a film. You can't sell it because you don't have the rights to that music. So I said, well, you're a filmmaker. Can you help make a film about our project? And for years, we were trying to figure out, well, what is the movie about?
Yeah, because I think after 2009, I mean, it was an amazing experience. You had tons of content, but I feel like you weren't quite clear on what you wanted the story to be.
Yeah.
And then we kept going back every 2 years, 2011, 2013. When we were going back those years, we started doing more trainings, about trauma, occupational therapy. I'll let you, John, share a little more.
And just to as a disclaimer, I wasn't providing occupational therapy to clients in the Philippines. I was more so sharing resources from an OT lens and from a trauma-informed care lens. So it was almost like I was a speaker, like I would speak in Australia, being brought in by the Sunshine Coast University there, or, if we were traveling in the States as guest speakers. That was kind of like the focus that we were working towards. Yeah. And we realized, right, Paula, that a lot of these children were living with some severe trauma experiences, and not just adverse childhood experiences, but really extreme traumatic events, and which led to us developing our book, My Name is Trauma, and translating it originally into Tagalog, which is Filipino dialect, as well as eventually into Waray. And in 2013, Paula, this is, I think, when I realized that we need to tell the story through a proper documentary, and to figure out what the story was, right? What is the story we're trying to tell? Because weeks prior to Typhoon Yolanda, Paula, myself, Ray, and Ryan, we were doing trauma-informed care
in Tacloban
sessions, training in Tacloban, not just for Streetlight, but for Tacloban NGOs and community and professionals. And we come home and we're at our retreat, Key Creative Retreat, in 2013 at the in Canmore. And I remember being with Mike, turning on CNN. And on CNN, I see Anderson Cooper interviewing children in Tacloban. And I'm like, what is happening in Tacloban? This can't be real. And it showed the devastation of the whole region, the whole area being decimated by a storm surge that came after this typhoon, and this destruction of the church. I remember seeing the church, the airport, and being like, what? And Mike's like, are you okay? He put his hands in front of my face like, John, And I'm like, Mike, this is the city. This is the. Do you remember that, Mike?
Yeah, you were just going through that experience, and you were basically being traumatized by what was being put on through the news, because it was something that was so personal to what you had just been through, and it was like appropriate in the sense that you had kind of been there, kind of giving them a little bit of the tools and sharing some of your journey with My Name is Trauma. But then you yourself were being like traumatized because these were all the people that you had, they were your family, like you guys talked about, like, that you had spent time being there and being present and connecting with them. And like, it was a part of our key family, because some of our key family had been there, and stuff like that over the years. Like, heck, I even remember for myself, like, this is something that, way back when I was working at the SU with Con, you were asking me to like help with the graphics for the banner for the first parade. And then when you went, it was about getting the t-shirts and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, so like for me, even though I had never been there, I'm like, this is my heart's sinking for this. And I'm like, I can't even imagine what you were experiencing then. And like, it's something that's in the documentary, but like they were showing some of the very area where you were working, like right at the orphanage and stuff like that. And it was like, we went white in the face, and, like it was terrible. And like, where we definitely, when we do our retreat, we spend that time kind of like celebrating and kind of honoring each other, because, in the work that we do, there's a lot of, compassion, fatigue and stuff like that. But this was something that it just, you could see that it just drained you. Right.
Yeah.
So
thanks for sharing that, Mike, and bringing me back there. And like what I was going through was like trying to grasp onto meaning, to think, okay, well, obviously streetlight is more than a building, right? And it's not just a structure. It is a structure, physical structure, obviously for shelter, one of the needs. But to me, I was again schooled again and humbled, because I thought a lot of it was ego. To be honest, a lot of it was ego, thinking, well, what did I even do? What's the purpose of this whole project if it's like people are dead and people are just trying to get basic needs met? So I was going through a rough time during those hours. And I remember being with Paula and you, Mike, and Sam and some of our key creative team at the time, and just had a heart-to-heart. And I said, listen, this has happened. I wasn't in the best space, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And Sam was saying, like, well, what can you do? What can you control? All you can control is yourself right now. And I thought, yeah, you're right. There's nothing for me to control except myself. But what do I'm feeling pretty crappy right now. Like I don't know if all of this was for nothing, or, like, who am I to think I can do what I was trying to do in and of itself? And so I was having, again, an identity crisis. And okay, this trauma specialist from Canada with Paula is teaching people about how to deal with trauma. And then a typhoon happens, and they're grieving loss of family members or people dead, and trying to like survive, trying to find rice to get food, because there's anarchy for a while. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, like, I guess this Balikbayan project is done, like, what can I do?
I think the other feeling, though, maybe, and I'm not to, but is like the helplessness that you feel when you're so far away and you're so removed, and like you feel like you can't do anything, right? And that's why I loved what Sam was sharing with us and what our team was giving to us, is that, us taking care of ourselves right now and making sure that we can have strength and love within our hearts during this difficult time is what will set us up to be able to help and support if and when the time comes. And the time came. I mean, Allen reached out to you and he said, we need your help.
So in January later that year or 2014, so a couple months after Typhoon Yolanda, Alan called me from the Philippines. I'm like, Paul, it's Alan. And he left a voicemail. And I remember being on the road with you, Paula, doing some work in the Grand Yellowhead Public School Division area. And I listened to the voicemail. And the voicemail is basically, hey, how the heck are you? It's me, Alan. And I'm like,
I'm
oh
just
my
out
God.
here saving lives and making homes. And
He's like, we're okay. We're alive.
Yeah,
We're
it's
in
incredible.
Mindanao. The children are in Mindanao, which is a southern area of the Philippines. And the kids are, they're okay. We lost some. But what we need right now is the Balikbayan Project. We need the Balikbayan team. And to me, that was like validating, one, because he said, what you were teaching us, you were just teaching us about how to heal and how to use trauma-informed care using play and activities and repetitive motion and art. That's not what the United Nations or the Red Cross's approach right now, and it's really re-traumatizing a lot of our children. And so I immediately called him back, and he says, "Yeah, we want to." We need the Balikbayan Project to come back and do a My Name is Trauma. Remember your book? I'm like, yes. Really? You think the book is meaningful? Like, it's like, yes. It all happened perfectly. He said, you guys coming weeks before equipped us on how to remain playful, even hours after the typhoon. Within hours of the typhoon, the storm surge, they were actually admitting children, which is incredible. So to me, that was like another boost of, okay, I think I'm still following this purpose that is meaningful to me. And that's when I knew, again, Paula, that I had a story to tell. Mm-hmm. And I asked permission. I said, Alan, what do you think about us telling this story? Like, you guys are already operational within minutes, like within hours of the typhoon happening. And you guys are like, you're still saving kids at this time, like without resources, without food. Like, to me, that's what the story is about. It's about my Filipino-Canadian point of view as a Balikbayan trying to remember or try to rediscover my roots. But it's also about resilience. Mm-hmm. Resilience that can come from people who have less resources than I do, but are truly,
I think, have like the courage and the strength.
Resilient.
And,
just resilient people. And what we learned later, and he said yes, by the way. So he said, yes, let's tell the story. And what we learned through the footage and through the experience of our My Name's Trauma is that this typhoon, for a lot of them, was very traumatic, but was probably not some of the most traumatic things they've ever experienced. And it's another thing. It's just another thing for some of them, right? They've lost lots in the past. A lot of these people, a lot of the people in the Philippines, regardless of that typhoon or not, like typhoons come and go, they rebuild. And they know how to rebuild because they know that their house can come crashing at any moment. And so that's their baseline of strength and resilience. And so, like, to me, like, how do I capture this in, number one, for me as a reminder of, like, I'm a human just because I know some research on trauma-informed care and it's always changing, doesn't make me immune to being like, I need help, And I think that's what I hope the movie would be, is to show that we're all human, the humanity in understanding that we all have, you can't compare one person's trauma to another, because it's to that person, that's their trauma. And you can't compare someone's strengths to another person, because another person's strength can be another person's weakness. And so I knew that I wanted to share that, and I knew that was going to be part of the story of the film, which we didn't release till 2020.
Yeah. And I think, like, I mean, the documentary is called Balikbayan From Victim to Survivor. And I think, like, yes, after the typhoon, to see that resilience and the coming together of community and people was inspiring, or it was hard to believe that people could have such strength and such devastation, but it was such a testament to the Filipino culture and community and what family means and what it can mean in rebuilding.
And I just, just to think, and rebuilding, Paula, it takes on a new sense when we look at, colonialism and the history of the Philippines, which I don't claim to be an expert at all. I'm an elementary student when it comes to that. I'm just continuing to educate myself and to learn about Philippine history and colonialism. But like just thinking about the Spanish colonial influence on the Philippines and how it has not only impacted the Filipinos, but colonialism all over the world. And, but specifically colonialism and giving up, losing something, whether that's your culture, your family, being taken away from your family, losing your language, your written arts, your everything from your identity, and having it be rewritten time and time again is embedded in Philippine history. And so to me, it actually, I'm always dumbfounded and astounded by how resilient Filipinos are. And it's their history that's made them like the trauma intergenerationally that Filipinos have experienced, constantly being conquered, if you will, in a cultural genocide kind of way, not only by the Spanish, but also the American culture. And of course, every culture has its pros and cons for sharing and cultural exchange. But I also, I broke down so hard, Paula, when we were, I think it was Hotel Alejandro, when we did the My Name is Trauma for the younger children workshop. And during one of the breaks, I'm walking through, it's a historic hotel in Tacloban, Leyte. And I'm walking through the hallways, and they have these pictures from World War II and Japanese occupation, American influence of, General MacArthur saying, I will return, I will not leave the Filipino people. And they did. But I see the Waray people from the mountains, no shirt, with a rifle. I see Filipino people in Western wear with rifles and guns. I see as tribesmen and a woman with a baby in her hand with a knife. And I broke down, Paula, because I just realized, like, this what we're trying to do is help them heal from trauma, but it's to me, it was such a moot point. It was such a, who am I to say, oh, this is how you heal from trauma, when they've been dealing with trauma for centuries. And so another schooling to just be like, for me, what that meant for me is like, well, I can only do my part. And what my part is doing is sharing resources and sharing what I can control is my actions here and now with these children. But I quickly was reminded that, like, history shows that there's been resilience, regardless if I'm there or not. Like, I'm the benefactor, I guess. I get to benefit from this experience. They may not be benefiting, but it is a privilege for me to witness this and to be part of these children's journey of resilience. Anyways.
Right. So, but yeah, like everything that you've shared so far is really resonating with me when I see in the past people doing charity at others, but not necessarily leaving the lasting impact that they think that they should, or that what it should look like. For example, like, there's many different charities out there. There's many different ways to try to help and support. And sometimes to some people, they think it's just throwing money, or let's just dump $1,000 here, $1,000 there. Let's do the bake sale. Or we'll come over, we'll build you a house, we'll take pictures in front of it. I'll take pictures with young children, and then I'm going to take my airplane home and I'm never going to think about you ever again. There's I don't have any specific organizations I want to draw to. That's not what I'm here for, but you know what I mean, where it's, we're going, like, are we actually going to teach locals the tools to build their own houses or to overcome their own trauma? No, or are we just going to be there for 10 days of photo ops and PR?
Yeah.
Right. So you have come back for 16 years of a span. I know there's been breaks, but again, you have lived to the namesake of returning with service.
Yes.
And of also having that cross-cultural exchange, like almost like as much for your sake as for others.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there has to be children now who are young adults who have been inspired by you. And I mean, even Key Creative and even this, I know there's been like that sort of surrogate adult positive influence that some people never had the opportunity or never got born into.
Yeah.
Right?
Deanna, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. And, I oftentimes think about, conversations I've had with other NGOs and people who are like, oh, you should become an official like NGO, an official, charity and whatnot. Because then I get a tax receipt and I'd support you. I'll donate so then but I need something in return, I need a tax receipt, and thinking, okay, well, yeah, we can definitely do that. I still haven't done that. That's on my to-do list. But at the end of the day, I always tell them, well, the idea here is you don't have, of course, the world runs on money. But they say, well, how can I help? I say, you can help by going back to something that was meaningful to you and serving, whether that's your high school, your family, your original hometown, your football club, whatever it was. Balikbayan return with service is not a new concept. It's just return to something where someone or something or someone or a group of people have given to you. And the idea is not to, tell one hand's giving and don't let the other hand know about it. The idea is not to like, oh, I know about broadcasting it. Yeah, we broadcast it. Our intention around broadcasting it is not to say, look at us. Because people say, what's your exit plan? We don't have an exit plan. I don't have an exit plan. It's the actual act of doing it is why we're doing it. It's not for, hopefully the byproduct is we're helping but I'll be the first to admit, I'm a benefactor. I'll be straight up. I'm a benefactor from these visits. I'm learning about my culture. I'm learning about how to be a better human, hopefully, a better dad, a better husband, from the lens of people who are teaching us about that, about the family unit, the surrogate family. To your point about children who have now, who are still part of our family, one of the themes of the movie, Balikbayan, From Victims to Survivors, is also family. And the redefinition of family, that family, we have our biological family and maybe our family that we've grown up with. And we also have a choice on what we can redefine what family means. And inherent in our culture, the way that we speak to each other is as if big brother, big sister, big sibling, older sibling, younger sibling, kapatid means sibling, or kuya, ate, tito, uncle, tita, auntie, all ninong, godparent, all of those things, ninang. It's inherent in the culture that we're all related. And I see similarities in like the indigenous cultures here in Canada, in the Polynesian cultures in, Hawaiian culture, Hawaii? Sorry, Hawaiian in Hawaii, Hawaiian cultures in Polynesia, right? It's all inherent in that we're all related. And so I feel like I'm a big brother, like literal big brother, and then also surrogate for a lot of our they're not kids anymore, they're adults. They have, some of them have their own families. And some, have struggled with addiction and have continued their battle, and maybe in the gang life or
with poverty.
Or, some have died because of lack of nutrition and health care.
Yeah.
But those who are still around, every time we come back, and I don't know how I'm going to be. I know I'm going to be emotional when I see them, because I remember them when they looked like they were 5 years old and they were 10, and now they have their own families, or now they're graduates of the police academy, or now
they're
their
traveling the world,
Yeah.
or they're, helping support their own family now in different ways. And yeah, I feel like the amount of love and gratitude that we receive in there is so extremely fulfilling that it is such it's so like I can't think of a better, but like a win-win. Like we get just as much from them, if not more, than we're giving to them. And so, yeah, it's just like the amount of appreciation and gratitude that people feel when we're there and tell us is almost overwhelming, because I feel the same way. I'm like, gosh, I feel so valued and important and loved when I'm here, and it's mutual. It's pretty incredible.
And it's something that, in terms of it's with the whole theme of family, it's something that you're just getting reflected back, that experience that you're giving them. Cause like you think about what you did, and like, I know you talk about the whole idea of giving and stuff like that, but it was just a matter of when Alan, called and said he needed you showed up like the big brother who, with your tool belt of caregivers to help with the trauma seminars, and also like with what, the engineers to work on things at the site, and like, and then on top of it, you brought in Rob, and you guys did your music video about really thriving and surviving and going beyond all that. And so it's something that, regardless if you show that familial love, it's always something that's going to be reflected back. It's just common sense, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Thanks, the universal.
Yeah, the universal language.
Yeah.
The universal love language of connecting. Whether it's, through acts of service, or, I was going to go through the 5 love languages. But like just quality time. I will pick one.
Yeah.
Quality time. Because I think that's what helps us connect with the children. There's actually a group that I'll never forget it. J2911. They used to be called InGen, one of the Philippines' top hip hop groups from Tacloban. And time again, they've always collaborated with us since 2007 at Pagpasabot. They're when Philippines Got Talent.
Return to us.
Philippines top dance crew. They are amazing. Anyways, what was my point about it?
They were part of the music video that you guys shot. Yeah.
They would say, Kuya, can we, Ate Paula, Kuya John, Kuya Ryan, Kuya Bernie, this is our group, Kuya Ray, can we just have an hour? I said, yeah, for what? I said, bonding time, bonding. Like bonding time? I thought, what is the word bond? Oh, you're connected. They literally use that word, and to me, I used to think, oh, bonding, it's kind of, we're bonding over this. No. When they say bonding, they mean let's experience something that we will never forget for the rest of our lives, that we are eternally bonded. And I'm like, whoa, because that's how they explained it to me. Let's do something so that we are eternally bonded, and you will never forget us. I said, I will never forget you. Are you kidding me? I will never forget. And they're like, well, people say that, and, you never know. And, so to me, going back to what you were saying, Mike, bonding time is just quality time. QBT, quality bonding time, is something that I feel the project's about, we did the music video. Those are things that the typhoon, trauma-informed care workshops, Pagpasabot, those are all activities that were bonding time. So
what's next?
Well, I'm very, very blessed and happy to say we get a chance to go back after 4 years of not being in the Philippines. And we have partnered and are partnering with the Embassy of Canada to screen our film, Balikbayan From Victims to Survivors, in collaboration with Streetlight Philippines. And so that will occur on November 9th, 2023 in Manila in collaboration with the Film Development Council of the Philippines. And it will be an official Government of Canada sanctioned event in the Philippines with our partners, which I'm so excited to do because the film has, been able to be shared at a variety of film festivals, Edmonton International Film Festival, Regina International Film Festival the following year, Compassion Film Festival, Docs Without Borders. But I've been waiting and I've been praying for an opportunity to screen it in Manila.
Thank you for sharing your heart,
It's an
your
honor.
stories, this project. It's inspiring. I know I've drank the Kool-Aid.
I shouldn't have
I'm on
worn
the
mascara
bus.
today. I'm like making my sleeves so dirty. I mean, I'm so emotional.
Oh, it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Like human connection and love. I mean, it makes the world go round, and tears are a good thing. You know, it's a good thing. It reminds us that we're human and we're all connected, and it's a beautiful thing.
I'm so grateful that in 2016, some of our key creative staff were able to come join, and maybe sometime in the future, we'll be able to collaborate again with potentially some key creative coaches wanting to experience the Balikbayan Project in collaboration with Streetlight.
Yeah. And we'll have links to the Balikbayan Project website,
Which is
Instagram.
balikbayanproject.com.
Yeah.
And then at Balik, BALIK Project, PROJECT on Instagram and Twitter.
Check us out and cheer us on. Whooshing it out.
Yeah.
All right, let's do
Okay,
shit.
that's our cue. That's our cue. All right. Okay, let's say salamat. Salamat po. Can you say that?
Salamat po.
Means thank you so much. And then you say walang anuman.
Walang
Anuman.
It means you're welcome. And one more. Mahal kita.
Mahal kita.
Means I love you. Okay. Mahal kita. Whoosh it out. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Key Talks is a project of Key Creative. We hope you found this episode informative, thought-provoking, and enjoyable. To learn more about the topics covered in this episode, visit our website at keycreative.com. That's QICreative.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving us a rating and review. It helps other people discover our show and lets us know what we're doing right. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.